we've been able to converse right here on the show, and we already have our first caller on the line, Mudhiri Wagivendu, who's calling from Murang'a County. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, Jesse, for a job well done and your panel. I start by talking about the Azimio Inawezekana manifesto.
Yes.
And I can say it is clear and well thought of, and it is the only manifesto I have seen of all the contestants. Otherwise, we need to avoid empty sloganeering and attempting to imitate that very nice manifesto. I have also noted a bit of mudslinging aimed at it, especially on the Nutuba issue, because what they are saying is that after industrialization, of course, we shall have jobs, local jobs, and money will be available now to give the Nutuba people new fabrics instead of dealing with materials that could bring some hygiene problems.
Okay.
Like now we have this monkey pox, which can be brought by clothing and this sort of thing. Once Azimio eradicates corruption as proposed and a tax on industrialization, jobs and money will be available, and we don't have to have empty sloganeering like Wajakoya, promoting bangi. I mean, marijuana is very detrimental and is a drug that we really need to control. Although, of course, there will be initial excitement in the internet and so on.
Yeah.
After some time, the truth will dawn on people.
Definitely.
That we can have marijuana.
Well, okay. What about the 12th Parliament's caucus?
Yes, Parliament recess has shown that they have not really achieved much in controlling government or, overseeing expenditures and so on. They have been part of the problem. Parliament has been part of the problem and not part of the solution. When I look at the IEBC Balancing Act, I find that the Chepkati team being opaque, especially the chairman himself, on how they have handled the clearance or lack of clearance. I cannot understand how they dismissed that proposal from EACC of the people that were supposed to be barred on the Chapter 6 of integrity. And I am happy that EACC has gone to court to challenge, some of these clearances. So we really need to implement Chapter 6. Otherwise, if you clear people who have been impeached, what are we saying? I mean, what else can we use as a measure that somebody has been of low integrity other than those who have been impeached? Those are my views, and I thank you very much for a very good program.
Thank you, Wagivendu. Thanks for your call, calling from Murang'a County. That's the first caller on the line. We've definitely taken note of your observations. Over to the next caller, Ronald Tuya, who's joining us from Bomet County. Good afternoon, Bwana Tuya.
Yes, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. Kindly proceed.
Yes, thank you. Now, with the Azimio manifesto,
yes,
I have only two critical issues that it was not put clear.
Yeah.
The issue of corruption.
Okay.
Yes, the issue of corruption, it was not clearly stated how will they deal with the corruption. For Mr. Raila to tell us that he will prosecute
we can hear you. Kindly continue, Tuya.
Yes, for Mr. Raila to tell us that he will prosecute Hello.
Tunakusikia, endelea tafadhali.
Okay, I think there is a problem network where I am.
Okay.
I'm talking about the issue of corruption. He has been on the record saying that he will prosecute. But now, I think the function of the president is very clear in the Constitution. The president has no mandate to prosecute them. There is a process, and the law needs to be followed.
Yes.
Secondly, the issue of 6,000 shillings, which they are planning to give out to the vulnerable. Where will they get these 6,000 shillings?
Okay.
They should also come clear and tell us where will they get in case they will ascend to the power.
Okay, so you're keen on the how, where the money will come from. But away from that,
yes.
Let's talk about Parliament. And do you think it was an extension of the executive from where you sit?
Let me tell you, Mr. Jesse.
I
think this was the worst parliament we have ever had in Kenya.
Why is that?
The parliament was being controlled by the state. It was not an independent. Yet we know it is very clear in the Constitution that we have only three arms of the government.
Okay.
Yes. And then for the IEPC,
yes.
Let me just finalize. Chebukati also should come clear and tell us that he will give out the credible, verifiable results for election.
Okay. Okay, well noted. That's Ronald Tuya calling us from Bomet County, raising a couple of questions to do with corruption and how the 6,000 social protection program will be implemented, where the money comes from. Apart from that, our final caller on the line calling from Kisumu, a familiar name, Jan Wahome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I've not been so lucky with the show. I think I usually get lucky when you are around.
It seems so. We tunapatana hewani, quote unquote. Let's get to it.
Okay. Now, the IEBC. Let me start with the IEBC. And it's my prayer that this time round the IEBC will execute its constitutional mandate very independently. And I'm saying this because the 2017 election, it seems the IEBC was not the only player in the election. So I'm praying that this time round the IEBC, and I'm very much happy with the KPMG clearing clearing the dead voters. And as an Azimio person and as a Raila supporter, I'm so happy with this development, because this is what denied Raila Odinga the presidency.
Okay.
And I'm so much worried, and I wanted the IEBC to come very clear on the transmission of the election, especially when we are having this issue of the 3G, 4G network coverage. I wish they were so much clear, because we don't really want interference with this election.
Okay.
This is a very fluid moment. This is a very critical moment for this country. Let me go to the first parliament. And I want to agree with a caller from Bomet that this has been the worst. This has been the worst parliament, because these people did not go to parliament to represent the voices.
Okay.
And this is what we've seen with the 12th parliament. When the handshake came in to know who was doing oversight and who was in opposition, who was not in government. The other thing was the strained relationship between the deputy president and the president. And this is what has really shaped the politics today. And I'm praying, I'm really praying that as we head to the other polls, I'm this person who believes that we should not be looking at the parties. Let us elect people with integrity.
Okay.
Let us look for individuals who can run our public offices.
Okay.
Let us not go for deal makers. Now, lastly, I'm not so worried about the manifesto.
Briefly?
The manifesto.
Yes,
Jesse. Because the people who have written the Azimio manifestos, so many people are the people who shape the 2030 vision.
Okay.
We are talking of look, somebody like Raila. Raila was in government, the Grand Coalition government, and we saw what the Grand Coalition government did to this country.
All right.
So I'm not so much worried with the manifesto as the new manifesto.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Thank you so much, Jan Wahome, and thanks for calling from Kisumu County. And those are just some of the remarks we've been able to gather so far. So, a couple of issues stood out, even as we get your closing remarks, gentlemen. Moko, I'll start with you. Of course, corruption, how will he prosecute? Yet the full force of the law needs to be followed. Yet another question on where the money will come from in terms of the 6,000 social protection policy. So, all things said and done, it seems you are asking Moraz questions, yeah?
Yeah, and you may have noticed how my colleague panelists responded when asking hard questions, and I think that is an appetite Kenyans must develop. Ask politicians hard questions. That you are giving us a raft of proposals. How are you going to fund these proposals? How are you going to manage the public debt? Like, for instance, when you talk about fighting corruption, the chairman of the Azimio Council, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, has indicated that Kenya loses 2 billion shillings every day. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He has not crushed it. But he's going to be a key cog in the, if Raila becomes a president, it's going to be a key cog. Is there not room for Raila Odinga to tell Kenyans that this is how I'm going to fight corruptions? And nobody's asking about a work plan. Just give us an idea of how you intend to fight this corruption. That's all what people are asking for. In my view, we should start asking many questions because we are going to elect 1,930 persons.
So should you rest easy if Raila tells you, I've been in government? Because this is what we've had him mention. I've been in government. I know these loopholes that they use. I will seal them and this money will be used for this and that. Should you rest easy as a Kenyan?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Anybody who tells you that I've been in government, I know this, that's more the reason why he should tell you how he's going to do it.
Okay.
Because leadership, as we said, it's all about execution. Tell us how you are going to do it. So in my view, as we plan to elect these 1,930 persons, let's reward meritocracy. And let's punish impunity, mediocrity, and corruption. And that meritocracy should be anchored around the issue of economics.
Okay.
Because that's the elephant in the room. If we don't do that, it's going to be another 10 years where we are going to wallow in a miasma of poverty, impunity, and corruption. All those things rolled into one.
All right, we'll be kicking the can down the road. Hezbollah, your take.
Yeah, I think Dismas has said so many things, but he has also painted a very gloomy picture of Kenya. You know, our politicians are corrupt, full of mediocrity, and all those things he said. No, our voters, are also ignorant. You know,
those are your words.
But there is a glimmer of hope. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me start with corruption. You see, the manifesto in itself, yeah, has adequately talked about corruption and how they're going to handle corruption. If you look at, Azimio Agenda number 7, Azimio la Uwajibikaji, it has captured that. But you see, a manifesto should also be looked at in terms of context. This must say that, President Uhuru Kenyatta is the chairman of the Azimio National Council, which is true. Raila Odinga is the presidential candidate. Martha Karua is the running mate. We know the history of these people. We know the history of Raila. We know Martha Karua when he was the Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister. And we know that even in the document that they had called BBI, there were issues that Martha was on the other side, they were on the other side. Now they're in one team. The issues that were tackling corruption, they have a better platform now to sit together and address that.
Okay.
Number 2, if you want to fault President Kenyatta on corruption and say that he has not demonstrated, you only need to go back the last 2 years when the executive made a decree that if you're part of the executive and you are arraigned in court, not convicted, and I think it's only the executive that has taken that step, being proactive, you'll have to step aside.
All right.
Have we seen people step aside? We have. Have we seen the big fish step aside? And they are in court, you see. So as the process is going on, we've actually seen that the executive took some very serious initiative. And you can actually see, that there's a basis upon which they can move.
But a lot more can be done.
A lot more can be done. I did say, and it is good, and it is,
asset recovery.
Yes, it is good. That is there. I mean, yes. As I finalize, let me talk about where are we going to get the funds. Now, the critical thing about this manifesto is that the first 5 speak about a productive industry.
Okay.
Meaning that there is an element in which the 5 of the key things they'll focus on will produce and make money for the economy. The next 2 talk about securing the gains of that economic revolution.
Okay.
The last three, anyone who is left out of this, there is Inua Baba, there is Maji kwa Kila Boma, there is no waste no single child.
Yeah.
So there is a safety net. And let me say this, that for the 6,000, this 6,000 is regenerative.
Okay.
That for a family that is given 6,000 in Migori, they are likely to invest. And in the subsequent years, it comes back to the economy.
Okay, well noted. Well noted. Hold your horses. Kindly, Osido, briefly, as brief as possible.
I think for me, and learning from lessons of what is currently going on in government, if you look at the social safety nets that have been put by the Jubilee government for the elders, where they get 3,000 shillings per month. And so if you were to look at the vulnerable households, and we're giving it a number of 2 million, imagining you have 2 million and each household gets 6,000 shillings per year, or rather per month, and so you have 12 months, for example, that's about 144 billion shillings, and then you multiply that by the number of days that this government will be in place. And if we are losing 2 billion per day, if you divide 144 by 2 billion, Jesse, you have 72 months. I don't think that should be a problem to a government that is committed to safeguarding its people. Number two, on corruption, we must deal with the pilferages, but much more fundamentally also tighten the institutions
as well.
That DCI, DPP and prosecution really speak to the realities on the ground. On that issue, remember that Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga was strong behind the BBI. BBI proposed 2 years for any corruption case. So Azimio La Umoja has to come up with a timeline on dealing with corruption cases.
Quite so.
Order. You finished already.
Allow us to finish at that particular point. Asanteni sana for your time. It was a manual today. But we'll definitely do a couple of changes next week. But the value of the show is still top notch. Thank you so much. Kevin Osido, a new entrant to the show. I hope we'll see you again some other time, hopefully. Hesbon Owila as well, communications researcher, and Dismas Mokua, political risk analyst. Keep the conversation ongoing on social media at KTN News KE, #InsidePolitics. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.